I want to discuss Kim Caldwell here for a moment. She's back on the sidelines 3 days, essentially after giving birth, full term. Do you worry that she's back on the sidelines at all? Because if it were my wife, I'd say you could probably take 2 games off and take a week off. I'm not sure that I would want her back on the sidelines. I'm sure the doctors have cleared everything, but goodness gracious, that seems really quick to me.
Seems extremely quick. And honestly, you don't know if it's good for the program because of the distractions. But at the same time, maybe it's better for the program because what you just said, Dave, one of the things that I think really helps kids succeed is if they can see their coach as Superwoman, Superman, whoever that is. Would you agree with that? Like to see them as almost like a larger than life figure. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And I think doing this kind of makes Kim Caldwell, we know, pushes her players hard. I think this helps make her look like a larger than life figure to a certain degree. To be this demanding and this intense and then have a baby and only miss a game and then come back. I mean, that is like, we always talk about the Pat Summitt stare. That's, Pat Summitt was a larger than life figure before she was winning national champions because she was demanding so much of her players. And it had an effect. And I'm starting to see the same thing with Kim Caldwell, to be this larger than life figure that you honestly like see as Superwoman. And I think that's going to have an effect on the players and the level of focus and discipline and effort that they're going to show.
No, I agree with that. And at first, when I was thinking about this morning, our 3:45 a.m. production meeting, I thought that's a little bit of a reach, but I don't now. And I think it's something that'll be pointed to if she wins a championship or they're in the Final Four. They'll say, not this season, but in the next 2 or 3 seasons, they'll say going back, her son or daughter. I'm not sure. Is it son or daughter?
I actually don't know.
Okay. This child is now 3 years old, and Kim Caldwell actually had it in the beginning of the season or the middle of the season. And it'll be a great story and one that she recalls, and she'll be remembered as tough because of it. And she fills the shoes of a program that was incredibly tough. Pat Summitt was tough. So do you think there was extra pressure, internal pressure, not by UT saying you really need to get back on the sideline, have that baby, but do you think there was internal pressure to live up to the Pat Summitt mantra of toughness? Because I really do. I think if Kim Caldwell is somewhere at West Virginia, Northwestern State, she's probably taking a week off. I don't think at Tennessee she feels comfortable taking a week off.
I agree, and let's just throw this out here too. I know women's basketball coaches don't make as much as men or anything like that, but she still gets paid pretty well. She's making $750,000 a year, 5-year contract. So she's got $3.75 million in the bank. Any of us would take that in the bank over a 5-year period. I think that I'll say, Dave, here's what it is. I think partially we've all worked day jobs, and when you work a day job, you take advantage of all that. You take advantage of all the vacation you can get, right? You're like, I'm going on paternity leave or maternity leave, and I want my 3 months or whatever, and give me that. But when you're making $750K a year to deliver specific results, I feel like you feel a little bit more dedication to your job, don't you? just a little bit. And whether that goes from there to Josh Heupel to Rick Barnes, I think if the pay increases and is more results based, that you can directly track, like my success is predicated on this, and that's why I'm getting paid, you start to feel more dedication to your job, don't you?
Agreed. This isn't perfectly analogous, but they used to try to ask us at the News Sentinel to take time off during football season. And their current beat reporter, I can't recall his name, he does do that. And I'm told he shuts it down on his 2 days off. I never could do that. And if news was happening on my beat, I had to be there. And I don't know if that's the same thing, Caleb, but I got a lot of comp time that I took, but I guarantee you I never got as much comp time as I actually worked. Because with recruiting, you're also working on Sundays, chasing down recruits. So it wasn't $700,000 in the bank, but I felt a responsibility to be on top of my beat because I knew from experience that if you had to fill into it without the contacts that I had, it was either feed him contacts and ruin my off day, or it was him not get the job done. That's where
Well,
we
and
were.
you
And
also
as a paper and as a team, just like with you, I wouldn't have wanted to make us look bad. That makes sense.
well, oh, I totally agree. And for us, like me and you, yeah, the pay is not Kim Caldwell pay, but we have something we're working towards, and we have a passion for it. What'd you say?
It will be. Go ahead.
Oh no, I mean, like I was saying, like we have something we're working towards, and we have a passion for it, and we have a clear blueprint of where we want to go. When you were at the Knoxville News Sentinel, you had something you were covering something you were passionate about, and also you knew that like there were doors that could open from that. Which I mean, one did that got you the ESPN job for a while. Now I know you have your own thoughts about working at ESPN, but you got there from your work at the Knoxville News Sentinel, and you knew that was something that could open up because of that. And so I think that's the big thing. You know, Dave, I wanted to ask you. When seeing a coach is superhuman and needing to see them as a larger than life figure, do you think that is one of the things that almost kind of derailed Fulmer? Is towards the end of Philip Fulmer Sr., it just felt like the players didn't see him as that larger than life figure. They saw him as just a guy who maybe at times wasn't fully sure of what he was doing in certain moments.
Well, I think there's something to that. There was an uncertainty offensively in the final year with Dave Clawson. Before that, with Randy Sanders, who was really calling the shots. That was a question. And the other thing that happened, I don't know if this is a toughness thing or not, but it leads to a discipline issue, is that the players knew that if they could play, they could get in trouble off the field, right?
Right.
I mean,
did.
I'll say it before. When Philip Fulmer at a Shoney's met with an alleged assault victim the day after it happened with one of his players, lost a lot of credibility. Not to mention that was tampering with a witness. It could have blown up.
That's incredible.
Yeah. And that's not that long. That's 2004-ish.
You're right. That's 2004-ish, and that is dangerously close to like, I'm not saying Fulmer was Joe Paterno covering up crimes, but that's, you get dangerously close when you start dealing with assault victims and trying to keep things under the rug, and it gets bad. I mean, we're going to talk about Josh Heupel versus Jeremy Pruitt, and I mean, just on a lighter level, it looked ridiculous when Jeremy Pruitt was, lecturing police officers because they were doing their job when they arrested Jeremy Banks. And
I had an attorney call me and say, I can just tell you right now that Coach Fulmer's not real happy with the coverage from the News Sentinel. And I told him, I can tell you right now that I don't give a bleep. Brought to you by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorney, banksandjones.com. Give me 30 seconds, and then I'm going to deliver some pretty insightful differences between Josh Heupel, Ryan Day, and Jeremy Pruitt. The show represented by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorney, banksandjones.com. Why Banks & Jones? Well, it's because they're Tennessee's trial attorney. You can play to win with Banks & Jones because they'll go to trial. You've heard of other lawyers. They say they'll go to trial and fight for you. They won't. They just want to settle. That's the easiest way out. Well, that's not Banks & Jones, led by T. Scott Jones. They won't settle. They'll go to trial for you. Tennessee's trial attorney. They play to win. Truly, Tennessee's trial attorney when it comes to criminal defense or personal injury. Why settle? It's Banks & Jones. T. Scott Jones.
Frank, like the name, but serious or something. The Dave Hooker Show with Kayla Calhoun, represented by T. Scott Jones, banksandjones.com, Tennessee's trial attorney. From the Ted Russell Ford Lincoln Studio, East Tennessee's #1 volume and customer service dealer, Ted Russell Ford and TedRussellLincoln.net. Now to the Dave Hooker Show on Off the Hook Sports.
All right, so we're going to get to today's tough question. Give us a final wrap up of the poll question before we change it up a little bit, Caleb.
Do you believe Kim Caldwell was really pregnant? 2 people say no, 18 say yes.
All right. We think she was really pregnant, right?
I think she was really pregnant. I'm just trolling you guys.